Jase Richardson wasn't the clearest one-and-done candidate entering the year, but he made a consistent impact and really asserted himself down the stretch as some injuries gave him more of an opportunity and allowed him to help lead his team to an Elite Eight. He's the son of former NBA and Michigan State guard Jase Richardson, and though they're very different as players, Jase's game as a 6'1", 6'2" guard who can shoot it, make a play, and stay solid on defense has appeal at the next level. Now he's a small guard who we didn't see as a true lead playmaker and will naturally be a target on defense, but he's a prospect with enough feel and impact where it matters to still value highly. Now Jase enjoyed a lot of success offensively this year, but the spot that I think will translate the quickest is his ability to shoot the three. He shot over 40% from deep, including 45% off the catch. He also shot over 80% from the free throw line and has a history of being a reliable shooter in most ways. He has a good feel moving into open spaces on the perimeter and on shakeups and drifts into the corner. He's always shot ready and had moments on movement looks. Now I'm not sure he'll ever be a full-on movement threat, but he's at least capable of giving you something there. Now he only shot about 7 threes per 100 possessions, partially because of where he was. I think if he goes to Alabama that number is never that low, but he does have a little lower set and release point, and though it wasn't a huge issue, I'd imagine he'll need to make a slight adjustment in the NBA at his size, which will probably be more in the form of range than anything else. But outside of that, I would expect him to shoot it at a high clip in the league and be someone who can provide spacing and make teams uncomfortable with leaving alone or not accounting for on every possession.
Gets free. Richardson lines it out.
Here this afternoon.
They're so connected. They flash the foul line, and look, this is a corner jumper.
You have to block out. What is the answer to the offensive end? Richardson hits a
Careful, you just have to play and figure it out.
If you weren't with us for the first half, the point guard for Michigan State, Jeremy Fears, out sick.
The paint, get to wherever you want to go. Jase Richardson gets free. Splash
screen. That's a little screen-to-screener flex action there.
Jumper. Cha-ching. Tanjay has scored 25. The rest of the Badgers have scored 29. Richardson.
Three-point struggles continue. Richardson transition three.
Good job in this tournament of position defense. Wide open three. Go!
Now Jase's ability to score in multiple ways off the ball has been really impressive and showcases a lot of individual skills I think he can continue to build on. Obviously if he was like 6'6", a lot of this would have a more seamless transition, but you can be pretty confident that he'll provide value here like he did at Michigan State and before that playing with the Boozer twins at Columbus. But he's a very good finisher who shot nearly 70% at the rim and just under 65% in the half court. He's a pretty good vertical athlete for his size. He embraces contact and has impressive touch and control in the air to avoid contests. Now he's still super left-handed, but it's been effective and that's what matters most. He's a pretty impressive driver and he'll get to the rim in a few ways, and the first is off of closeout attacks. I think he's one of the better guys in the class at attacking shifted defenses and taking advantage of the attention he draws as a shooter, and from there he has a very good understanding of where he'll need to be to have a shot at converting. The second spot is coming off of any sort of DHO, a zoom action, or a pin down. When you can get him an advantage there, especially heading to his left hand, that's when he's been maybe his most dangerous, and his ability to both convert at the rim and then through using floaters or getting to an occasional pull-up in the short or mid-range has made him super effective here even in Big Ten spacing. So while there are questions in how he creates in a more traditional sense on the ball and handles the volume there, he has positive tools in ways that you always need, and he got to and converted at a high clip from most spots on the floor.
Jase Richardson, 20 on Saturday.
Basketball of the season thus far. Interestingly, the Illini are 19th in the AP poll. They're 7th in the net.
Holloman, curling Richardson down the lane. Jones contact. Fears. Curling Richardson. Oh, beautifully done.
Kerr Tang is on the floor for Michigan State, number 2 in white, freshman from New Hampshire. Graphic Booker asking for it against the smaller Burnett's. Back door.
Back door again. That has been open. And it's
Richard is going to start to empty his bench a little bit. Xavier Booker has checked into the game. Back door, here comes Richardson.
He's such a great passer. Their offense starts and ends with him. And so far, they've held him down.
Jeremy Fears into the corner for Richardson. Knocks down the
fatigue, that's a real thing.
No question. I mean, they have been through the gauntlet schedule-wise here, and certainly ramps up again.
Richardson, 16-footer, lefty, fuel.
Patterson drive. Richardson against Garcia with the left hand.
Ball deflected. Fears got a hand on it. Track down Richardson. Here comes the jam.
Want to go out there and prove it. That can at times hurt you even more. Leak out. Richardson.
Able to tap that away. Now running out is Richardson. Goes up top and finishes.
Now, the common thread in most of the things that he's good at is his feel and ability to make good decisions consistently, and that shows up in a big way making plays for others within that team context. He doesn't make many mistakes and is both unselfish and aware of where the play is to be made, and though he didn't have full point guard duties and the stats aren't going to pop beyond maybe the assist to turnover ratio, he can make things happen. He'll push it in transition and come up with on-time lobs and bounce passes through traffic. I think a lot of his most impressive plays came there in the open floor, and then he's a positive ball mover who makes extra passes, can make all the simple reads off those DHOs and zoom looks, and will give the ball up quickly if he attacks and sees the defense key in on him. Now, he doesn't have the most advanced vision or versatility as a passer, which we'll talk about more in a second. I don't think he's the type that is just completely passive and then somehow gets praised for not turning the ball over, but he isn't the most audacious as a passer and playmaker. I do think the feel and decision making is going to be built on, and what he already does well will keep him a positive piece in an offense for sure.
Things like that coming off the bench.
So I like what Holloman just did. He got it up the floor, did not wait, and now Michigan State's got the defense in rotation.
3-point six. He provides a big lift because he can make threes and also nice cut.
A little contact. Richardson using the screen. Nice cut. Oh, the vision. And the power.
They have some kind of tradition, don't they? Boy, a couple of looks.
Out to Holloman. Richardson. Fiddler. Get it.
Now, the biggest questions for Jase are in just how good he is and can be as an overall playmaker and creator, because as useful as some of those off-ball skills are, you still have to do quite a bit of creating when you're only about 6'1.5" without shoes on. So I think the lack of volume and consistent advantage creation one-on-one is my biggest hang-up here. The handle is fine, but he's fairly limited in what he can get to beyond left-hand drives and pullbacks, and he's also not that elite level type of quick or shifty. He's also going to have to get better using his right hand. It didn't affect him a ton this year, and it's one of those things we notice more when it's a lefty, but when he goes right, he definitely wants to get back left and clearly isn't quite as comfortable heading full speed. I also don't think I saw him try to finish with his right maybe more than like 3 to 5 times this year, and there's moments he leaves stuff on the board because he doesn't trust that side. He's also going to have to solidify his footwork on pull-ups, especially in the pick and roll. Almost all the best small guards are dynamic pull-up shooters. That's just how it goes. So he is capable, but he'll need to smooth things out on the load up and get better heading to his left for sure. Now, in saying all of this, he still has some excellent moments this year, and I think his overall efficiency is encouraging. You can look at that Oregon game as a great example, and then he also had more success running the show with PG Elite a couple summers ago. Now, to me, it wasn't drastically different than the guy that we saw in the last 15 games of the season in terms of overall creation, but there was a level of confidence and freedom that allowed him to show more.
Remember, he struggled a little bit with his shooting the other night, but he came on late. Richardson, little body bumping. Kohler, screening for Richardson. Step back. Crossover. Down the lane. Oh! Richardson, switch out front. Stay on his left. You know you can go right. Richardson. The hesitation has been shown. Looking to create again.
Maryland, #1 in the country, points for their starters. Michigan State, #1 in the conference, bench points.
And that's been a big story, too. The starting 5 for Maryland.
Because they certainly have numbers.
Richardson creating, stepping back. Getting
Entire offensive production.
There's Richardson navigating, leaning. Count it.
Lonnie Evans chasing. Richardson gets it back to square up. Loses him. Step back.
Getting a seal down low. Richardson pulls up for 3, and an entitlement to Kohler. Step back. Richardson.
Now the other part of things here is his passing, and while he is a solid passer who's unselfish and doesn't turn the ball over, the level of vision and versatility as a playmaker hasn't quite been there for lead guard standards. He's timely in most situations, but there are moments where he misses those slightly more risky plays that could lead to points. He doesn't have skips with both hands, and he also hasn't been a big rim pressure reactive type of guy either. So again, it just comes back to the question on if he can handle that volume of responsibility with the ball and then create some more advantages. If he does ultimately get there as an overall playmaker, it's going to take time and reps and be a product of him first becoming a more versatile and creative scorer and then building off of that. I think there's still a world where he can be mostly the same player that takes some steps forward volume wise and still contributes, but when we're talking those higher end standards, we're talking top 10 or anything like that, it might be a little tougher to expect out of him.
The corner to Kohler, they're going to get a reset to Richardson. 10 on the timer.
Boy, they are just challenging the guards out front. Joseph doesn't want to pick up a foul there, though.
Kohler with 3 to shoot.
Richardson swings it to Carr.
And wrapping things up on the defensive end, I think most of it is going to be placed on his size. I thought he was fine to pretty good this year, but because he's not built like a Kyle Lowry or a Fred VanVleet or Davion Mitchell as a smaller guard, it starts to become a lot bigger hill to climb to just be neutral in the league. We'll start positively because, again, he was mostly good. He's a pretty apt help defender with an understanding of where to be, and he does a good job of playing in gaps and digging on the ball. Now, he doesn't have like Reed Shepherd type of hands, but he does a good job of stunning and changing the approach of whoever is in front of him. And he's also a pretty good athlete despite his size, and will come up with the occasional play and help or a block in close that he shouldn't be able to because of it. Now on the ball, I think he's okay, but he doesn't offer the type of resistance I see translating to the league in a significant way. Now the effort is there, and you absolutely will not play for Tom Izzo without it, but he's kind of easy to screen, doesn't bother guys on contests, and he's obviously going to have to be ready to fully prove he can't be taken advantage of and looked at as easy offense by NBA creators. So I think you first look for effort, you look for understanding and minimal lapses. He checks those boxes. He's just behind in the physical tools department in a way that it might be difficult to overcome.
And then he just ripped it away.
Makes his move on a spin, and it's blocked by Richardson.
Beechamin and Donovan Dent.
With hands, give it up, you get a layup.
Richardson off to the
Fifth offensive board for Kohler today.
And a pocket pick from Richardson. Jase Richardson hesitates, drives, count it.
I found to have Biddle in the post, should have got it to him right away.
Shellstad is their length. Jim, they got really good size.
And they rebound well, and that's what.
Preseason pick 5th in the league. Tracy splits the defense
For Michigan State.
Shellstad steps back, looking for a double-digit lead.
About the high-low. Now it's Klesmit working against Richardson. Klesmit forces his way in and finishes.
Who's better in special situations than Tom Izzo getting his team a shot? Hunter.
Maybe he'll get it down to the next media timeout, which is a little over a minute and a half away.
Here's Tiki, who gave Patino. Evans backing down underneath. Pretty spin.
Now Jase has quite a few things to like about his game. It's just the tools that make it less of a sure thing to me. Offensively, he's super qualified to be that complimentary guard who plays well around wing stars, and even if he does do more creation wise, I think he'll be a very good version of a secondary piece and never really ball dominant or someone you rely on to make things go. Defensively, he's too small to do much else than play at the point of attack to me. Ideally for him, he'd be in a spot that could insulate him a little bit, but at that size, you kind of just got to match up. He's smart enough to figure things out, but he's going to have to really compete and hopefully get closer to 190, 200 pounds to make more of a difference. But this could ultimately make him more of a 6-man or a third guard. I think he could get into that high-level starter range if he can continue to scale up and improve as a creator, but if he is just more of a compliment who shoots it, doesn't make mistakes, and can make a play, that should keep him in the rotation mix, though I wouldn't be surprised if that means it happens on a second team. And that's part of the reason I think he's most valuable in that late lottery to top 20 range rather than anything higher than that. Fit-wise, I really like him in Orlando. If I was in his corner, that'd be the place that I would want to end up. But teams like Washington, Miami, and Brooklyn also intrigue me as places he could have a fairly clear path to success. Comparison wise, he is unique, but there's actually quite a few I like for him. Those complementary guards who can shoot and do some of everything else, like Emmanuel Quickly, comes to mind first. And then it's also way too early to really compare them, but I think he and Reed Sheppard have a few similarities in terms of a pitch for a prospect, and though he's not quite as dynamic a defensive playmaker and didn't show quite as much as a passer as Reed did, there are some similarities there.
After a man, Thompson stolen by Reed Sheppard this game.
Jase Richardson is one of the most interesting prospects in the class to me. He's small and hasn't done as much as a creator as you'd like to this point, but his efficiency, his decision making, and ability to knock down shots keep him someone that's worth valuing as a contributor. And in that late lottery to top 20-ish range, I think you feel pretty good about getting a player as sound and impactful as he is despite his size.